first thing we want to do is we want to talk about stance, but I think it's important to know how we do our drills and where we do them. So we'll get on the sideline. I'll separate our quarterbacks with a little bit of distance, but I like the toes on the line of the sideline with a midline running down. So we're going to get on a yard line from there. When we talk about stance, we're going to work from the ground up, working with our feet. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is I want to make sure our quarterbacks turn their toes in just a little bit, and that way the weight is on the balls of the feet, allows them to move left and right, either direction evenly. Knees are going to be in slightly knock-kneed, so the next step is we're going to come down here, we're going to put our hands on our knees, and then we're going to put them knock-kneed. Then the other pieces, I want eyes up, chest out, butt out, and then if you look, we're looking for that arch in the back. Now, how do we drill stance? Everything that I do with footwork is based off of a command, and it's always started with the word stance. I expect the quarterbacks to move quickly on stance. If there's multiple quarterbacks, I want to see them all going down for the most part at the same time. If they're bouncing up and down, call it popcorn, I'll tell them stand back up. We want to do things disciplined. So a lot of times if I'm doing a stance drill, I'm not getting their hands incorporated. I will take a ball and I'll say, okay, pass the ball around your back 5 times. They're going to go fast 5 times around the back. Give me 2 knee jumps. They're going to come up, do 2 knee jumps, and then I'll say stance. Then they're down. They'll hold the ball right here for now because we haven't incorporated the hands. And I'll say relax. So that way everything is on a command. All right, pass the ball around your back 5 times the other way as fast as you can go. 2 knee jumps. Stance. Boom. You want to see them down. You're looking for the toes, and everything's on a line for that reason. One of the most important things in the quarterback play is the exchange, and there's a lot of misconceptions about how to teach it. The first thing is what we do with our fingers and hands. Okay, you've got this little curved area here in your thumb, and we try to teach our kids to lay them in that little curve, and we're going to open our hands as wide as possible. Okay, so that's the way we do that. The other thing we want to do is we want to utilize we'll get them back down to that stance. We're going to bend our arms, okay? So there's a slight bend in the arms. They're in tight. And then we're going to utilize what we call a lock. So I push forward. Now, one of the other key points, a lot of people talk about pressure from the top hand. Put pressure on the quarterback or on the center's butt with the top hand. Incorrect. Because if I'm pressing with that top hand and we snap the ball, it can still force the bottom hand down. So what we want to do is we're going to get pressure on the top hand by pushing from the bottom hand, okay? So how do we incorporate? The next drill is what we call our lock drill. It's pretty simple. We're going to incorporate, passing the ball around the back like we've done, a couple tuck jumps, and then stance. Boom. Now we're going to be in here. Now the next thing we're going to say is lock, and all we're going to do is this, okay? Pretty simple process. The next piece is the belly. Very important piece of what we do. So now we start giving them a football to incorporate in the drill. So they may be doing this, but their hands are not doing anything until we do lock. Now, around the back, tuck jumps, stance. And what you want to see is that their fingers are where they're supposed to be, the ball's out, elbows slightly bent, okay? Probably don't have my feet in where I need to be. And then we're going to say lock, belly. And we're going to be slow, just like that. The one thing about the belly is notice my elbows. Elbows are tight. Ball is actually in the belly button. When we try to teach the kids, that's critical because the belly becomes your third hand. I've got my 2 hands here, elbows tight, ball out, ball parallel to the line of scrimmage, and you'll see this. Now, the other piece is this. Why do we lock? If you were to ask a line coach, what's the center supposed to do when he's snapping the ball? He should be stepping. So if my hands are sitting here and the center steps while he's snapping it, he's moving away from my hand. So we want to lock to allow ourselves to ride that center as he moves. All right, the next progression will be our footwork. So we've gone from a stance, we've gone from stance to lock, from stance to lock and belly, and now we have to teach footwork. So our first play that we want to always install in our wing T type offense is our zero trap or our fullback trap, tailback trap, whatever you want to call it. So how do we work it? We're going to do our same commands. You're going to say stance, 20 trap or 30 trap, first two steps. And I spend most of my time on the first two steps because they are the most critical. When we look at what we're doing is we try to teach the quarterback's mindset is that the fullback owns the midline. So that's why we work on this midline. It means that the quarterback has to get off the midline. But rather than say get off the midline, we give him a number of 12 inches. So how the progression would work is we're probably not running the ball around our back anymore, but we're going to say, just like this, we're going to say 20 trap, first two steps, on quick. Stance. So they're going to get down. They're going to check, your coach, you're going to check their toes, you're going to check their chest, you're going to check their back, check their elbows. And we're going to go slow. Lock, belly, first two steps. Now, on trap, we tell them 12 inches off the midline. So the next thing they're going to do is they're going to push off, and then they're going to be here. That's all we want, is first two steps. But I'm looking for elbows tight, chest up, okay? Cannot see the ball. Here's the problem. If you look at where my feet were, I wasn't 12 inches off the midline. So now you have a point where the quarterbacks know how far off. You can look at them. You can say, hey, what's wrong with your steps? Coach, I got to be 12 inches off. I'm only 6. That's right. So then you continue to work it. The other thing is this. I have incorporated a stagger stance. So we haven't taught that. The stagger comes from your pivot foot. So if I'm running trap, I want to go ahead. In this case, I want to get my stagger with my push and pivot foot. We're going to be about 6 inches. All right, now we're going to get back. So I'm going to say stance, and now they get into their stagger. Again, we're still going to get our toes in, chest out, knees slightly in. And then again, it's going to be lock, belly, first two steps. Hike. Again, I'm still tight. We'll continue to work it until the quarterback understands what 12 inches feels like. If we're going to do it, we try to tell them to over-exaggerate the steps. So it's not going to be 6 o'clock, it's going to be beyond 6. So we call it an overstep. Okay, one of the neat things about the offense is the ability to go from under center to shotgun and run the same plays because the blocking schemes up front will not change. What will change is what we do in the backfield and how we will utilize our footwork and angles in which the ball will be attacking the line of scrimmage. So in shotgun, we've talked about alignment. We're going to try to have our heels 4 yards from the center's heels, which puts us about 4.5 yards from the ball. And then we'll have our back side card over here, splitting the outside leg of the guard. Now his steps, he's going to have to slide step to us, so we don't have to go to him. Our steps are going to be pretty simple. We're going to receive the ball, and then we're going to just pivot almost in place. So our backside foot will end up on the midline. We'll be in an angle, so that way we'll angle up to his track so we don't trip the back. As we're in this position here before we receive the ball, I want our feet to be even or parallel to each other. We want our toes at the same depth. Again, receive the ball, pivot, we want this angle. As we're here, we want to stretch the ball and we want to read the end man on the line of scrimmage because we'll have the ability to pull and read off that end man. And an even front could be a 5 technique, odd front could be a 4-eye, or the walk-up dog on the outside, that'll be a game plan. So as I ride him, I'm going to let the ball go through. He's going to attack the zero trap. Regardless of what that guy does, now I'm going to work option track. So now I'm going to ride the weight to my front foot. Now I'm going to attack that last man on the line of scrimmage. And then we have our guy outside, our slot, who's working option with us. So we have the ability to work option as well as zero trap in the same play. Could be quarterback keep, could be keep with a pitch. All right, when we run the 8-player or buck sweep, we now own the midline. Because we own the midline, we're only going to step 6 inches over the midline rather than 12. It gives us a nice little mesh between the fullback and the quarterback, so it kind of gives you a little bit of what we call a fake without putting the ball in his belly. And again, we're going to look at a stagger. So I'll say, hey, 28, first 2 steps, on quick, stance. Now I haven't got my stagger, so sometimes when I start, I'll tell them, say, and then check your stagger. Lock, belly, first 2, 1, 2. You can see now, I'm in pretty good shape. I'm 6 inches off. Again, looking in this direction, elbows tight, balls belly. The other piece is this: as you progress, what I try to do is get my quarterbacks to run what we call a chicken wing technique. So again, I am staggered, I've got my stance, say first 2 steps, and we're gonna chicken wing on my second step. So stance, lock, belly, first 2. Now I'm here. Why do I want to run a chicken wing? I want to run a chicken wing so it kind of gives the illusion that I'm putting the ball in the fullback's belly. Without doing this, I'm able to put a chicken wing in there. So it just becomes a progression of what we want to do and how we want to achieve it. Okay, the next step is we're going to start eliminating the words lock and belly. We're going to have those incorporated because we've practiced it enough. So from now on, as you get better, it might take 1 or 2 days. Your cadence will now be 28, first 2 steps, on quick, stance, and then you'll say hike. But what you want to see is still, you get your stance. When you say hike, they should lock and then belly. Okay, that should be automatic. Rather than having to call the cadence, lock, belly, it's got to become part of their natural being. So let's talk about full progression, which gets us into our waggle mode or our bootleg. All right, so now it's stance, hike. We're going to get around. On that 3rd step, I want to cross over the midline towards the halfback. We're going to fake the ball to the halfback between that 3rd and 4th step. On that 5th step, I want to start driving my feet to the sideline. Now I want to drive my shoulders, which will now get me in line to run the waggle, which now also gets my eyes on who my receivers are. I know it's a running play, but to teach our kids the progression, now we have to know what foot we're going to throw off. So the next 2 are flat, 2 more, drag, and then come back. Then run your 5 yards, full speed, downfield, as we'll do in our perfect track sessions. All right, next thing we want to look at is our footwork for the Bucksweep or 8 play. Again, we're going to be 4.5 yards off the ball, 4 yards from the heels of the center, where my toes are located. We'll have our sidecar halfback who now is straddling the inside leg of the tackle. So there's not much differentiation horizontally, kind of hard to tell. Parallel feet, and we're going to receive the ball, and then we want to reach the ball to the back. And as he comes across our face, we want to just take a slide and then slide and plant. And we want to drop our weight so that way we've got our load right here. Just like the zero trap, I'm reading the backside guys, whoever we've determined for that week. As we go ahead, we're going to release the ball, and then we're going to attack option. If that end were to squeeze down and chase the buck sweep, we'll just pull it, and then we'll attack, and we'll read option off the edge. So we'll have a pitch man, we'll have our guy that will be an option. We can choose to, depending on what we have outside, there may not be an option man. It's something that we'll have to determine by the formations that we utilize. Our counter from under center. Counter from under center comes off of the fake of the buck sweep, or our 8 play. So we're going to open up, faking 8 in one direction, handing the ball back, and running counter in the other. So if we're running 34 tag, we're going to fake 28. And I love to talk to the quarterbacks. Hey, we're running 34 tag. What play are we faking? I want them to be able to explain it so it becomes part of their knowledge. So the way I break it down, I'm going to break it down in series. So the first thing we do is teach our kids, hey, we're faking 28. We're just going to do the first 2 steps. We own the midline. So if I'm playing 28, we're running 6 inches off the midline. So it's first 2, 34 tag, first 2 steps. Stance, hike. 1, 2. Check, I'm a little tight. Then the next progression is 1, 2 poke, or 1, 2 flash, is what I like to call it. So again, I'm here, hike, 1, 2, flash. I like to get the ball out, and I like to drop my weight down. So I want to flash, get that ball out, let the defense see the football. Then we're going to go 1, 2 flash, 1, 2. And the reason why, and I'll explain that here in a second. So, hike, 1, 2, flash, 1, 2. Notice my track. My track is here. My wing back is coming. He's got his steps, and it's going to allow him. Now, granted, I don't have the depth. Quarterback should probably be back here, which give you a little bit better angle to turn that little hump that we like to run and get ourselves vertically down the hill. And then we're also talking the last piece is we like a 3-step drop off it. So I say 1, 2 poke, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So here we are. Hike! 1, 2, flash, 1, 2, ball, 1, 2, 3. We do have the ability to run 4 tag pass, which is a 3-step drop over that tackle, but until we get there, we always set it up. You got to make sure you have the personnel to be able to do it. When we're talking 3 blasts from under center, there's a lot to it if you want to do it well. So understanding the cues that we utilize for our quarterbacks, to me, is important. I want to give our kids cues so that way they understand the progressions that we make in terms of our footwork from point A to point B to point C until we're completed. So when we're done with a blast, we're also going to take a sweep, and then we're going to take a 3-step drop. So essentially, when we talk footwork, don't mind me, I'm not going to get down too far. When we talk footwork, there's 2 things. I always ask the kids, what are the 2 keys to success on the play? And those 2 keys are going to be width and depth. And the reason why I say width is because we want to be square. We'll end up square to the track of the back because we're going to get him coming vertically down to the line of scrimmage. So I'm going to be square. Now, if I'm going to be square, I also want to be as close to the V gap, which is where we're in play, as possible. So there's my width. When we talk about depth, there's 2 reasons why I want to get deep. 1, get the ball in the hands of that guy as far back as possible so he can make any reads in front of him. And then also we're going to have the sweep either being faked all the time or being handed off. So we want to try to get width and depth. So when we talk about footwork, I'll break it down like this. 3 blasts, first 2 steps. Here it is. Hike! We're going to overstep the midline. We're going to go past 6 o'clock. And then we're going to reverse around and get ourselves an understep. So now we are square, almost square, to the track of the back. Now, granted, I'm not as explosive as the quarterback, so I'm not getting wide and deep like they will. You'll work on it and find the depth that you need. So the first thing that we do in terms of cues are first 2 steps. So the next thing is, once we've done it twice, we'll go, hey, first 2 steps with a reach. So now it's going to be hike, 1, 2. Ball's automatically back. I'm in a good position, and then I've had my reach there. Step 3, we're going to go first 2 steps with a reach and a ride. So now it's going to be back here, hike, reach it, ride it. We want to ride that ball past our front hip and transfer the weight, because the next thing we want to do is we want to be able to push back and poke. So our steps, first 2 with a reach, first 2 reach and ride. Now we're going reach, ride, and poke. Hike. Reach, ride, poke. We've got a back coming across to sweep. Now you have to understand, everything is going to be blind for the quarterback. So that's why the depth has to be as accurate as possible. And then make sure that we're handing the ball off and putting it in the hand from where the back is going to. So if he's coming from this side, we don't want to hand it here. We want to put the ball in the left hand, so that way the ball can physically be placed in the belly, and then I can ride them through. The next step, first two, reach, ride, poke, 1, 2, 3. Hike. Three-step drop. That's probably a bad three-step drop, but that's the mindset. All right, so as a quarterback, the other thing that's critical is understanding if you have a sweep back. And that's really important. So if I don't have a wing, I don't have a sweep back. So, and that's not totally true. So if it's a 3-back set, wing, 2 backs in the backfield, because a back in the backfield could also be a sweeper. But if there's no wing, he has to be the lead blocker. So if I don't have that 3rd back for a sweep back, then I become the guy who controls the outside linebacker. The purpose of the sweep, control the outside linebacker from falling back in. If he falls in, now that we have 2 backs, front side back is leading and blocking the linebacker, backside back's getting it, I'm gonna ride. So that's why we have to really get good at riding. So again, now we're just gonna teach the quarterback, hey, you've got no sweep back, hike, 1, 2, reach, ride, get the ball to that front foot, snap, and then work down to the line of scrimmage and try to get yourself in a position where you are the keep man controlling that guy. We've gone through the footwork of the 3 blast. Now, the coaches in the box have said, hey, the outside linebacker keeps falling in on blast. So if we have a sweep back, we're gonna go ahead and come out and call sweep. There's a little bit of nuance that's different about this. We don't wanna get width and depth anymore. We wanna get straight back, so we just basically tell our guys, look, we want 2 6 o'clock steps, and we wanna get deep, okay? The fullback steps are gonna be different. And the reason being is because he's gotta be tight to you, bend backside and pick up and fill for the backside pulling guard. So now, we're gonna take 2 6 o'clocks, we're gonna be tight, so it's gonna be here on the midline. And as you notice, I'm on the midline. So 2 6s, I'm gonna ride this guy who's now tighter, and then I'm gonna get the ball here to the sweep back. We're still looking for depth, but we are getting rid of all width when we do call sweep. All right, 3 blasts from the gun. It's pretty simple. We're gonna run 3 blasts right now, totally with the quarterback. And he has the ability at the line of scrimmage, even under center, to call it at the line against an even front. The coaches will teach that point. We want to try to run to the bubble if we got a 2-eye and 5. And the nice thing is, in gun and under center, you may have the ability to either run it to either side. So if there is no jet sweep fake, and we've got our back set on the right-hand side, and we have an even front, that means we've got a 2-eye and a 5. We need to get the ball and get in the B gap. So again, quarterback is just gonna receive the ball. He's gonna take 1 big slide step. Now he's gonna get behind the halfback and attack the line of scrimmage. And then make moves according to the block that halfback makes. We can run it off of jet action. We like to run it to where the jet sweep is going. You can also run it away, but if we're motioning a guy across, again, we want to snap the ball. We want to snap the ball as if we're running jet sweep because we want to put the ball on the guy's belly. So we're going to get him, motion him to that tight end, snap the ball. We're going to get that ball out, and we're going to ride this guy. We're going to get the ball to that front hit, put it back into shape, and then get into that B gap. It's going to take a little work, but that slide step with that motion should get us the momentum we need to get as close to that B gap and get what we call a freeze technique behind that halfback. Okay, we're under center running jet sweep. One of the goals is that we want to be able to put our guy in motion, and we want to snap the ball and hand it to him in the play side A gap. In order to do that, we have to know where we want to have the ball snapped. So again, we're going to get our mild stagger. In this case, we're going to get it to the play side here. We're going to get down in our stance, and then we're going to put that guy in motion, okay? I like to use a head nod for one reason. For some reason, we do the foot, slam and jump. I don't understand it. They never go on foot, but they go sometimes. So I'm going to nod. When I nod, that also allows me to look at where that guy is. When he gets to the B gap or outside leg of the guard, we're going to say hike. We're going to take a punch step with the play side foot without gaining depth, and that'll get us off the line of scrimmage, but also into the A gap. Hand the ball off, right it here with the hand, and then we're gonna waggle out just like it were cowboy, because we can run cowboy off the jet sweep. All right, jet sweep from the gun, a little bit different than jet sweep from under in terms of where we want the ball snapped. So we have to determine whether we're running jet sweep left or jet sweep right, okay? And then so now, if I'm bringing a guy in motion, so if I've got an outside receiver and I want to bring him in motion, I'm going to use the finger and I'm going to bring him with my hand. So I'll bring him this way. I'm going to stare at his alignment. So as he gets towards me, we want to make sure his depth comes in front of me, and we're going to snap the ball where a tight end is physically or would be. So he's going to look out. When that ball is where, let's say there's no tight end, we call it a ghost. When he's at that ghost tight end, it's going to be hike. And again, we're going to just put the ball in the belly. We'll take it, we'll ride it, and then we can back off and now run waggle for cowboy. One of the drills, after you've taught the guys how to hold a ball and how you want it looking for cowboy, we got to teach them how to actually throw on the run. So one of the things I want to do is I'm going to tell them elbows down, we're going to kick the ball, the nose of the ball out, and we're going to do what we call down the line pass. So we'll have two quarterbacks working the line about 20 yards away from each other. And because we're righty, our steps, we're going to do it slow. We're just going to go right, left, right. When we plant that last right foot, we want to teach them to drive the shoulders, step to the target, and throw and keep moving. Then they'll come back. Once they get used to it, you'll pick up the speed. So then it's right, right, throw. Then we'll pick up the speed again, right, right, throw. Then we'll progress and say, okay, it's cover 2, so I want everything thrown on a dart at 20 yards, 25 yards. We might say it's cover 3, I want to loft it. So the other guy will put his hand right here, go right, right, and then we're going to soft touch it over the top, follow through, and try to get the ball to drop in to where the receiver's located. Okay, if we're talking about a comeback route, which we do, we're going to drive the ball. So that's the importance of making sure that we're throwing on the run, right, left, right, and we want to throw it on a dart to where that comeback route is located. All right, our 90 game, 3-step game from under center is kind of the same concepts out here as from gun. Footwork's going to be a little different. You're playing shortstop is the way I like to teach it. So if I have hitch or slant over here and it's a quick game, all the quarterback's going to do is catch the ball. He's going to punch step, catch the ball, punch step, throw the ball. If it's to his odd side, he's going to catch the ball, receive it, punch step, and pivot, and throw the ball. Okay, it is quick. It is what we call a punch step. We're not taking a big step. We're not taking a drop step. We're just punching like a shortstop as he gathers the ball, and we get rid of it quickly.